If I would go on the street and cut the throat of a dog, I would be called an animal murderer. However, the butcher who is cutting off the throat of a pig, he is just encouraging the cycle of life. If I would cut off the tusks of an elephant, people would call me a poacher. They should hang me for the crime that I did. The farmer who is burning off the horns of a calf, he is just dehorning it professionally. If I would cut off a cat's tail, I would be called a sick psychopath. The farmer who is cutting off the tail of a lamb is calling it docking, which is part of hygienic farming. Hey you, do you notice anything?
I haven't always been vegan. I also ate meat, milk, eggs, honey for 30 plus years. I wore leather shoes, belt and a puffer. I also disliked when there was no meat on my plate. And I thought that veganism is extreme and that this is something that I couldn't handle. I have always loved animals too. My parents told me to be good to them, to rather pet them than to kick them, and to defend them if someone wants to harm them. I grew up believing that I really love animals. I remember a specific day when we were sitting at the table at lunch. It was a nice atmosphere, it was a good music playing, and my grandfather started talking about buying a pig for slaughtering. This is tradition in our culture. And I got furious, I got so mad I started to shout that we should not discuss these things at the table. I was only 10 years old. I was furious because I couldn't understand why are we talking about killing an animal, slaughtering an animal at the table where we eat. But at the same time I haven't noticed that I have meat on my plate. Does this sound familiar to you?
If I would put my fist into the anus of a dog and pumping it full with semen, I would be called a disgusting animal rapist. However, the farmers who are putting their fist into the anus of cows, pumping them full with semen so that she gets pregnant, gets a baby, he can steal her milk and make cheese and other dairy products, he was merely artificially inseminating her. If I would put my cat into a small cage so that she can barely turn around, people would call me an animal abuser and take the cat away from me. The pig farmers are putting pigs into crates which are barely bigger than them and they cannot even turn around, are producing quality meat. If I would shoot a lion in Africa and pose next to his corpse, I would get hate comments on Facebook and be threatened to death. If John is doing the exact same damn thing and just posing next to a picture of a dead pig, smiling, posting that picture on Facebook, people would ask, "Hey John, when can I join the grilling party?" If I would lock up a couple of dogs in a room and gas them to death, people would call me a Nazi. If slaughterhouse workers are putting pigs into gas chambers and suffocating them to death, they are called workers who are feeding the population. If people in Vietnam are killing cats and dogs and blessing their corpses for religious festivals, we call them disgusting barbarians. Let's kill a turkey and bless his body with grace for religious festivals that we have here in the Western society. New Year, Christmas, Thanksgiving, I love these parties. Celebrate days of love with the bodies of innocent murdered beings. Does it really matter who got murdered for your plate? If I would kill a dog and skin him to wear his fur, I would be considered a sick person. If I would wear a leather belt for which a cow has been killed and skinned, I would just make a fashion statement. When we hunt tigers so that they almost go extinct, most humans say, "This is terrible, shameful, we must do everything to stop this crime." When the oceans are almost fish dry and they will be empty by 2050, people say, "Tuna, fish sticks, who wants another round?" But you know what? It doesn't seem only to make a difference who gets murdered for you, but also for whom I, as an activist, am fighting for.
How many times have we been against animal exploitation? How many times have we been against torturing of animals? How many times have we been against violence towards animals? And how many times a week or a day you eat animal products? I have also felt extremely uncomfortable when I was asked these questions. I focused on myself, on my feelings, on my tradition, on my habits, and I didn't want to change them. Until I did. 4 years ago, I realized I was a hypocrite. 4 years ago, I realized I was an egoist. In my mind, I believe that I love animals and I do good for them because sometimes I pet them and sometimes I watch funny videos online. But in reality, with my actions, when I was buying animal products, I was causing terror. violence, and death without any mercy to those whom I would not harm. More and more people today realizes that they should stop supporting this cruel industry and go vegan. But they didn't do only that, because if you want to see the change in the world for the animals, then being vegan simply is not enough. Let me explain. If you go down the street and you see someone brutally kicking a puppy in front of you, you have three options. The first option is that you go along and start kicking this puppy yourself. Or if you don't want to get your hands dirty, you pay to someone else to do this for you. Well, this is metaphor for non-veganism, because if you're not vegan, this is exactly what you're supporting. This is exactly what your actions do, and you cannot go around that. The second option is that you see this violence and you're horrified, you cannot believe that this is happening, you don't want to support it and you just go away. And this is metaphor for veganism, because you're not really part of the problem, you don't support this violence to still happening, but at the same time you don't do anything to stop it. So the third, the obvious choice, the obvious option is that if you see someone kicking a puppy, you go there and you stop the actor. You start fighting for this puppy's rights and you do not stop until the violence stops. This is activism for animal rights. This is why I'm filming this video. We're talking about slaughterhouses that exist only because some of you refuses to pay for vegan option in a restaurant or in a store. And right now, in this moment, millions of animals are dying in agony without any mercy in slaughterhouses.
If I would consume only a little bit consciously meat and buy it from the same country I'm living in, I would have chosen the healthy middle way and be an animal lover. But since I refuse to eat any animal products at all, as all of them cause suffering to animals, I'm extreme and I shouldn't exaggerate. If I would rescue a dog in Vietnam from slaughterhouse, I'd be considered a heroine. But since I'm rescuing turkeys, pigs, chickens, I'm a terrorist and I should be locked up. I even have some court cases that I will face. Do you realize how disgusting and hypocrite your cognitive dissonance really is? Cognitive dissonance is not only when you say that your health matters to you but you smoke cigarettes at the same time. Or when you say that you really care about the climate but you're flying all the time around the globe and you live like there's no tomorrow. But your cognitive dissonance starts exact at the moment when you say that you're against animal abuse but you pay with your own money that innocent animals get brutally slaughtered and killed for your consumption. Your cognitive dissonance is as well very present when you say that you're against oppression of all beings. Maybe you even fight sexism, racism, but you pay with your own money that innocent beings are bred into the existence just that they can be exploited, raped and murdered in the end to end up on your plate. Because you know what? Injustice remains injustice, no matter who the victim is. If I would lock up a bunch of dogs in my basement and I would cut their throats off, it gets really bloody, people would call me a sick psychopath and my basement would be a brutal torture chamber. Now, when people kill around 50 billion land animals every single year in sealed off holes, they are putting ball shots to their brain, they are electrocuting them, they are putting them into gas chambers where they suffocate brutally to death, and they are cutting their throats open. These people are no longer sick psychopaths but slaughterhouse workers who have to feed their families, and the hall is not a torture chamber but a slaughterhouse. What we are doing is the greatest crime that humanity has ever committed. And every single day the humans try to reiterate these atrocities to themselves. But you know what? When it comes to violence, there is nothing to sugarcoat. It doesn't matter who the victim is. Violence is violence. Therefore, I say it exactly how it is. Animal abuser remains animal abuser, no matter if you cut open the throat of a dog or of a pig. Animal rapist remains animal rapist, no matter if you put your fist into the anus of a dog or the anus of a cow. And a Nazi remains a Nazi, no matter if you put dogs into a gas chamber or pigs into a gas chamber. An animal rescuer remains animal rescuer, no matter if you rescue dogs from a meat farm in China or a pig from the slaughterhouse in no matter which country around the globe. Animal products mean animal suffering. This is a fact. It doesn't matter if the animal product is coming from your country or from abroad. When it comes to suffering and to violence, there is no middle ground. There is only one right side. And that's why I ask you, on which side of the history do you want to stand?
And today I'm talking about these institutions that profit at the expense of violence, torture and death, which is paid by you who are not vegan. And if you think you can find an excuse why it's okay to do so, or that it's not so bad as I'm saying right now, let me tell you the bottom line. If you're paying for meat, for milk, for eggs, for honey, if you're paying for leather shoes or clothes, if you're paying for fur, if you're paying for cosmetics tested on animals, then you are the very factor that's causing animals to suffer, to be tortured and to die in agony. But there's the solution. The first step is go vegan today. Join Facebook groups, your local vegan community. Sign up to Challenge 22, where you will get everything you need to know how to change your lifestyle and stop supporting this cruel industry. And the second part is go active for animal rights. Say no to violence towards animals, just like you would say no to racism, no to violence towards children or women. And even if you speak about animals only with your friends and family, speak about their suffering and be proud that you're vegan. Veganism needs a critical mass of people like you, who's gonna change the world for the better. Because in time, believe me, we're gonna remember what we did to these innocent animals and we're gonna be horrified. Just as racism, sexism, fascism and other forms of discrimination and exploitation that are now completely socially unacceptable, also the system of animal exploitation will be completely unacceptable. So go vegan today, be on the right side of the history today. Ciao.